Hey, my name's Jay. I'm from Wilmington, North Carolina. Um, I'll do a little introduction on myself. Uh, I was born and raised here. Um, I'm 27 years old. I am a heroin addict, or I'm addicted to anything. I'm an alcoholic as well. Anything I can get my hands on, really. And I'm a recovering addict, and I just want to talk and share my experience and try to help others. I see a lot of prison YouTube channels and whatnot, but I don't see enough of people trying to help others. I see people trying to talk about prison stories and glorifying that life. I don't want to glorify that life. I want to help others and tell them how I got through everything that's been through my life. Um, this is my first video, so I'm a little nervous. But basically, um, my biological dad, his name is Alan. My mom's name is Nancy. My mom had me at a young age. She got pregnant with me whenever she was 19, I believe. Had me when she was 20. And he wasn't the best. He was a cop, actually. He was pretty abusive to her. I actually had PTSD at the age of 3, talking about things that he had done to her whenever I was 8 months old. My mom met a man whenever I was 2 years old that she ended up marrying and staying with. But until I was 6, I lived with my uncle, my aunt, and my mom and my grandma. Well, we had a pretty good life. Everything was good. My uncle was deaf, and I was really close with him. So at 6 years old, I had just gotten a new pair of school shoes. I walk in, and I'm looking for him, though he's deaf. I'm only 6. So I'm looking for him, Uncle Michael, and I wanted to show him my new shoes because he liked basketball, and I got some basketball shoes. And I finally found him in his room, and he had a brain hemorrhage, and he was laid out on the floor. His eyes were in the back of his head, blood coming out of his ears and his nose, vomit coming out of his mouth, and he was moaning. Pretty much I found him, and he ended up dying. That was my first traumatic experience that I can remember to this day. And a couple years later, I didn't get any counseling for that, which I think may have had an effect on my brain, that led to things later down the road. My family feels very guilty for that, but I made all my life decisions. I did what I did to myself. I blame them for nothing. I have no resentments to anyone, and that's one thing that I would like to share later on about is resentments. That's one thing we all have to get past. Well, whenever the biggest thing that happened after that is I couldn't form good speech. I had speech problems. I couldn't finish a sentence. I would be talking and I'd be like, if I were to say, I'm going to go to Walmart, I would say, I want to go to, and I whispered, and I couldn't, and I didn't know I was doing it. My family noticed it, but they just thought it'd go away. So my mom ended up marrying my stepdad, and everything was gravy. He was a man's man. He had the truck, the big trucks. We went mud into mud bogs, all that good stuff. That really wasn't me and where I came from. I was raised by women and a deaf uncle, and all that was new to me. So I had a lot of fears growing up because of the way I was raised. So basically, I would try and fit in with that group, and this was out in the country. I would try and fit in with that group, but that was never me. And so I got into basketball. That was just all I did. I played basketball all day, all night. I was out playing basketball, trying to get better. And at the age of 12, I also have a little brother named Chase. I have five siblings, or five brothers and one sister. I'm only close to two of my brothers. One of them's a half brother. The other is a step brother. Um, and the one I'm about to talk about is my younger step brother named Chase. Um, we were at a Walgreens pharmacy one day, and it was taking forever for my mom to get a prescription. Well, 45 minutes later, we see two sheriff deputies walk in, and I'm walking around the store with my little brother. He's two or three at the time. I'm walking around the store, and I see these deputies come in, and for some reason, I just had in my mind they were there for her because she was there for so long. And they put her in handcuffs, and I watched her get taken out in handcuffs. Um, so I I went with my aunt and my grandma that day when they took her, and it was like a blast to all of us. But none of us knew that she was forging prescriptions. That's what she was arrested for. None of us knew she was doing any of this, but she had. Whenever I was younger, she had a disease called trigeminal neuralgia. The nickname for it is suicide disease because multiple people kill themselves from it because of the pain. It's a nerve right here in your face. And she had stomach issues, and she got addicted to Roxy's and Vicodin, and started doing what she had to do. Whenever her doctor couldn't write her a script, she forged one. And like I said, my stepdad was into different things. He was my man's man, and I was used to that. So of course, when she got arrested, I wanted to go with my grandma and my aunt. Remember, my little brother, he came from my dad. That's his child. So my little brother had to go with him. And that I stood with my little brother crying, looking at me crying, reaching for me. And that's always messed with me for some reason. It was my little brother wanting to come with me and wanting me that day. I still deal with a lot of guilt from that. But she ended up going to rehab. And in middle school, I got bullied a lot. I got picked on in 7th grade. When she wasn't there for the beginning of my school year. The beginning of my school year, I got no school clothes because my mom was arrested. She was in rehab. They were sentenced to 30 days in rehab. So all I had was my flip-flops from the summer and board shorts and stuff, and I'm out in the country. Everybody's wearing camouflage and shit like that. And I'm getting called gay because I'm wearing flip-flops at school. And I was at the beach surfing and stuff with one of my cousins all summer, and I'm getting called gay because I'm wearing flip-flops. And I started getting really angry. And I had an older brother also that was also, trying to push that the boy side out. He was always, trying to fight me, slap me on my head, pinning me down on the floor and slapping me and stuff like that. And it was all playful at the time, but it made me angry. It built a lot of anger in me. And I ended up hitting a growth spurt. I got bigger and I got angry. At the age of 14 was whenever I realized, I felt like my life was shit. And I know a lot of people had it way worse than I did, but in my eyes, my life was shit. My mom had been arrested, fell my uncle whenever I was 6 years old. Some of the things that had happened, a lot of bullying through school. And whenever I got to 8th grade, I was literally a loose cannon at school. I was throwing chairs at teachers. I was squaring up with teachers. I was fighting people. I got in plenty of fights all the time. I also got into karate and stuff like that, learned how to fight. And just from getting in fights, I learned how to fight. And I took advantage of that and my size. I'm 6'3" and 230 pounds right now. Back then, in 8th grade, I was almost 6 foot tall. So, I had size on me. But I was really lanky. But I still used my size to my advantage. I won't call myself a bully. I never started it. But if you messed with me and you crossed me the wrong way, I was going to fight you. And a lot of people didn't want to be around me. I didn't have a lot of good friends. Like, I wasn't one of the popular kids, you know. And sorry, this is my first video and I gotta have some cigarettes. But anyways, going into high school, um, I, I had gotten a good little group of friends. They were some gang members, but they always had my back. They were always there for me, which later down the road had a big effect on me later down the road. I'll get to that. So that's who I mainly hung out with at school because I didn't have to worry about anybody messing with me. I wasn't trying to fight, and then that was my freshman year. Then 10th grade, I came back and I started hanging out with some potheads and stuff like that, and getting around marijuana and learning about all that good stuff. But I was still a good kid. I mean, I went to church Wednesday night. I was at church Sunday morning. Sunday night, I was at church. I was involved in my youth group. I gave my testimony at 18 years old. And I'm going to fast forward a little bit. Whenever I turned 16, my mom knew I wanted to quit school. So she said, I'm just going to take you out of school for a year and let you think about it and talk to your principal and see if we can make that happen. So I was taken out of school for a year and thought about it. Well, in that year, I hit more of a growth spurt. I changed my style. I shaved my head, started stretching my ears, started dressing different. I came back to school with a whole new mentality. And everybody looked at me different, and I held my head high, and I thought I was hot shit. And I ended up getting kicked out for 2 assaults. And it was because of a girl, all over a girl. I let my emotions get too wrapped up in one female, and that led to me getting the boot. I got lucky. They were going to put 2 assault charges on me. They got it all on camera. But they were like, you're a really good kid, and they knew my story. And my mom had ended up getting arrested again. This time, she has, for her health, the health problem that she has, she doesn't go to county jail. They sent her straight to Raleigh, to the prison, Women's Central Prison. So my mom went to prison. I ended up going and moving in with my aunt, and she had just had her baby, my little cousin Rhett. He's 11 now. I helped take care of him. And the school that I went to that kicked me out ended up making a night school for all the kids that were on probation and the troublemakers. And they invited me. And I got a lot of help through that. And my mom got out of prison, and whenever she got out, she really wanted me to come back home. I didn't think it was a good idea, but she really wanted me to come back home. I was 19 at this time. Well, down the road, one of my buddies, he was a little trust fund kid, and he basically got a whole house to himself, and there's nothing but kids from 24 to damn 14 in the house. Everybody's smoking weed, doing opanas, stuff I'd never seen before, but I finally belonged, and nobody seemed to, nobody judged me. We were all different types of people, from different walks of life. I'd grown up with this kid, and one day I just decided to walk down to his house and see how he was doing, and then ended up moving in. And that's whenever I did my first pain pill. That's whenever I first smoked weed. And that lasted for a while, me at that house. And I was very angry with my mom because her and my stepdad throughout all of me in high school, after the first time my mom got arrested, her and my stepdad would get into arguments to the point where the cops were called multiple times a month to our house. I got a lot of verbal abuse as well from my dad. I was called a pussy growing up, a bitch, shit like that. It just made me angry, and I had a lot of anger, and I learned that a lot of the anger came from fear. You know, um, anger is a secondary emotion. It's not. There's always an emotion before anger, um, and it's usually 99% of it is fear. And it was just I was scared at the time, and in my eyes, I thought that being a man, I thought that me, running the streets with these kids and doing drugs and stuff would show him that I was being a man, and I'd get in fights out the backyard and stuff like that, and I'd box in front of him and show him how I could fight. And I thought, I'm finally showing him I'm a man. I felt like this tough guy. I was beating kids up bigger than me, and trust me, I'm not coming on trying to be a tough guy. I'm no tough guy at all. I used to think I was, but through my story, I got humbled out a lot. And whenever I was, let me say, 20 or 21, one of my cousins had just gotten out of jail for a heroin charge. And he basically was like, I was like, so why'd you go to jail, man? And he was, well, I told the family it was for perks, but really I got caught with dope. I was like, I'd never seen heroin or anything, At this point, we just pain pills and stuff like that. And I ended up trying heroin for the first time. He talked me into it. And for the first time I tried it, I was sorting it at the time. For the first time I tried it, from that day on, it was every day. And we were getting it. And we had a little business that we made up, scrap and metal, and we had like little contracts with little hotels around and whenever they do maintenance and they get rid of a hot water heater, we go scrap it, make money off of it. They were getting rid of any metal. Places would just call us up, we come grab it, and we'd scrap it. That's how we got our dope at the time, and doing some other acts that I'm not gonna say. But if you've ever been in that life, you know what I'm talking about. Sometimes whenever you're sick or whatever, you do what you got to do. And I didn't know what dope sick was. But basically, one night, me and my cousin, my cousin was like, we're going to get dope sick for any dope soon. We couldn't get up with any of our dealers, except for one guy. And I remember driving my truck and looking on the road, and I could have swore I saw the tail end of a cop car. So I made a UE, and I'm like, nah, bro, we're not doing this. Not tonight. And he was like, nah, bro, let's go. Let's do it. Just do it. And I was like, all right, fuck it. And he was like, we're going to get dope sick. And I said, I didn't even know what dope sick meant at the time, dude. I'd only been doing this shit for maybe 2-3 months. Excuse my language. And it was weird because we would usually come in this it was it was just one way in, one way out. We'd come in, do a UE, and as we were pulling out, the guy would come, he'd just drop it in the truck, we pass him the money, and we drive off, do our thing. Well, this night he said to park, which was strange. We had never parked. Well, I backed in and I kept my truck on. And I see my cousin walk over to the mailboxes to make the handoff. And I see him look over his shoulder. And so I looked over my shoulder. And next thing you know, there's 3 cop cars and a narc. And if there's going to be a drug bust, they're going to have narc officers with them. And basically my cousin was walking to the car before they could get out of their cars, and he saw all the dope. Well, they drew their guns on us, and they pulled us out. They questioned us. They threw us around a little bit. They tried scaring us. At the time, I had tough guy mentality. I was laughing, thinking it was funny. I'm like, you didn't get me. It was shit. But they made me leave my truck there that night. Or they wanted me to leave it there. But my mentality, I went back and got it a couple hours later. But it was in the middle of the hood. And they gave us this long speech. And I ended up getting dope sick for the first time. And I was with my grandma and my Aunt Kim, and I was sitting outside of the hospital because I didn't know what was wrong with me. And I was about to go check myself into a psych facility because I was depressed. I didn't feel good. All this shit I never felt before. And my Aunt Kim ends up asking me, have you been doing drugs lately? And I was like, y'all know I do drugs. They were like, what kind of drugs? And I beat her on the bush, and I finally admitted I was doing heroin. So they ended up saying, we're going to take care of this differently. So my grandma is I love her to death. She had a huge part in raising me. She put me on a couch for a couple of days and let me detox. Well, I was stupid, and she was going to give me a place to stay and let me stop everything, and I ended up going right back out to the streets. But I wasn't using heroin or anything like that. I stopped the heroin because one of my best friends, he had this long speech with me. If you go back to that, he was like, we can do anything else but that. He's like, I can't lose you to that. I won't be your friend anymore. And he's a big part of my story too, which in later videos you'll hear about him. His name's Daniel. So I made him a promise I wouldn't do heroin. But I got really bad off on Xanax, drinking. It was like we'd go to parties, but then, there'd be that guy there that was always on the next level, fucking trying to fight everybody, headbutting fucking walls. That was me, getting as drunk as he could. And it came to a point where I was living in a tent in his ex-girlfriend's backyard. And that was my first bottom. And I was basically like, I can't do this anymore. So I called it. I got on my grandma's little shed, a little Nokia or something. I ended up getting on the internet, and I found a helpline. I called it, and 3 days later, I was in California. And this is a lot of my craziness comes from this point on, and there's how insane we are in our addiction. And how much we just don't realize what we're doing to the people around us. I went to rehab, and I was naive at the time, and I just thought you go to rehab and you come out and you're done. So I ended up going to rehab, and I did 48 days inpatient. Then I went to a halfway house after that. I didn't realize the difference in the politics of the South, of North Carolina to California, and they're way different. You don't walk through someone's neighborhood that, say you're in a neighborhood and there's another neighborhood right beside you. You walk through that neighborhood, there's going to be a bunch of guys sitting outside, and they're going to check you, and they're going to ask you where you're from. And if you say, I'm from such and such, you're about to get jumped. You're going to be ready to fight. You're going to get stabbed. Something's going to happen. That's California. Here, you can walk anywhere. I can walk in the middle of the hood, and somebody's going, you need some crack, you need this, you need that. That's how it is out here. Out there, it's not like that. It's like, white boy, who the fuck are you? And it's like, you got your Mexican neighborhoods, you got your black neighborhoods, you got your white neighborhoods. And I learned that in a halfway house. In that neighborhood I was in, whenever I was at a halfway house, where I started learning this. I mean, we were at the basketball courts, and we got surrounded by about 10 homies, homies are the Serreños, and we got surrounded by about 10 homies, and they had pulled their knives and everything, and we had nothing on us. We had to get out of that situation. We had to handle that. There's some things I can't speak on. Some crimes I can speak on, and some I can't. But anyways, we had to handle that. We had to get out of there. But that's where I learned the politics. So, I'm supposed to be in recovery, getting away from the drugs, but I'm still around bad neighborhoods and whatnot. And I'm still young. I was like 21 at the time. I ended up meeting a girl online, and she was pregnant at the time. I got with her, and the dad was nowhere to be found. I played dad. I was the baby's dad. I didn't sign the birth certificate or anything, but I was her dad. She was my heart. And my ex got postpartum really bad. She was bipolar. After she had the baby, I mean, she went nuts. She got put into a mental hospital. I worked a 10-hour overnight shift at a Lowe's distribution center at a warehouse. I busted my ass. I got a raise within 3 months. I was one of their top employees, and I was one of their main people. They taught me how to do everything, and I felt like I was accomplishing something, but I wasn't doing anything for my recovery. I was going to no meetings. I was just working, and I was taking care of this baby. I felt like this baby was what was keeping me clean. But then I'd be having beers here and there, and I pop perks here and there, and I thought I was okay. But I would never do it around the baby. I make sure somebody was watching her. But it got to the point where, I mean, I was very attached to this baby. I still love her to this day. Basically, it was a house full of people. There was me, my girlfriend, her baby. She had 3 sisters, and then her sister's boyfriend, and their baby was there, and then her dad, her stepmom, and her uncle. We all lived in this house together. And, drama was always going on and whatnot. And me and her dad had gotten into it a couple of times. And for the sake of the baby, I didn't let my temper go off. And it was one day before work. Her uncle had said something to me, and my ex were having extreme problems at that time. I'm not going to get into it because I don't want to embarrass her or anything like that. But she was just saying some very vile things to me, being mean to me. I just couldn't take it. I have bad mental health issues. I have PTSD. I have intermittent social disorder, OCD. You name it, I got it. Whatever. But I couldn't take it. I mean, the girl had me in tears all the time from the things that she would say to me. But I still supported the baby. I still gave her money for the baby. I still took care of the baby. And it was like I was made a pilot in the damn kitchen. And I was sleeping in the kitchen, but I'd still take care of the baby. I just would not associate myself with her. One day before work, we got into an argument, and her uncle said something to me, and that was that's what broke the camel's back. I flipped the fuck out. And it took their whole family to hold me back. And I was trying to get to him, and I was going to put my hands on this man. He did not know me like that. I carry myself a certain way, and at that time, the way I carried myself was, the tough guy, always like this, have my head cocked back, don't fuck with me. And that was just to keep people away. That was the fear inside of me, the fear of confrontation, things that I learned later on down the road. And basically, I got kicked out of the house, and this is at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and I had to go work a 10-hour overnight shift. So I got off work around 4:30 and had nowhere to go. And this was a town I didn't know very well. I only knew the one side of town we lived on. Well, I get dropped off on Sunny Boulevard in Moreno Valley, California. And it's not a good place. It's like, if you're from Wilmington, North Carolina, it's like the Market Street. It's like, that's the street. That's the kind of street it is. It's like that main street where all the drugs are, all the hookers are, everything. And I got dropped off there at 4:30 in the morning. And I ended up getting on the bus, riding the bus for, I think, 2 or 3 hours. I got up with one of my homeboys that I worked with, and I started staying with him. Well, he lived in a Mexican hood, Hispanic hood, and I started getting down with him, sitting outside, drinking 40s all day, smoking blunts. They did a lot of meth and cocaine, which at the time really wasn't anything I messed with. I never thought I'd touch any of it. I was like, y'all do that, I'll just drink and whatnot. But I got shit-faced every night. And I started, associating myself with what they were doing and getting into trouble with them and getting involved with their drama. And I'm just this white boy from North Carolina. I have no idea what's going on, but all I know is I'm getting down. That was how I was. My mentality was I'm loyal and I get down with anybody. And basically, things hit the fan, and some we some we found out somebody was a snitch in our crew, and I ended up. My family was pretty much scared for my life. I was scared for my life, so my family got me back here to North Carolina. I got in a relationship as soon as I got back. I was very codependent at the time, like we all are as addicts, very codependent people. Um, I got in a relationship, and me and her both started off headstrong. We're not gonna. Basically, we built our relationship off of wanting to be clean together. But she had just gotten out of jail, had an ankle monitor on, and I just got back from California out of some heavy, heavy shit. And shit that doesn't go down where I'm out here. So I'd also changed, my mentality changed. It was like I had a chip on my shoulder. And I ended up, we started off, going to get a bottle of liquor every night. And then it led to us going doctor shopping and getting Klonopins and Xanax. And then it led to heroin. Then I started hanging out with one of my cousins and my cousin's homeboys. And, I'm half white, half Lumbee. My dad's Lumbee, my mama's white. And if you don't know what Lumbee is, it's a Native American tribe in North Carolina. Lumberton, North Carolina to be exact, Pembroke, Robeson County. And, the culture's different. It's just different. If you're from here, you know what I'm talking about. We ended up, I got done with them hard. And, and at this point, I was shooting up dope. And my other cousin, his name's Little Johnny, he was the first one to ever put a needle in my arm. And he's my own damn flesh and blood. And he's the one that taught me into shooting up. And that's whenever things just hit the fan, I'm banging dope every day and got a bottle of liquor in my hand every day. And next thing you know, dude, I'm doing things I never thought I would do. Criminal things. And one night I had done something that I will always regret. And my cousin comes up to me and he hands me a flag and he puts it on my knee and he says, "You're blessed and you're with us. You're from North Carolina. You're familiar with IGD and Saint Gangster Disciples. That's what I was rolling with. I'm not going to speak on any of the politics, any of that. I'm not allowed. But basically, that's whenever I started gangbanging, and that's whenever I was caught on and I was needed, I had to get down. I had to do what I had to do. And one thing led to another and whatnot. My big homie was getting arrested all the time. He ended up getting hit by a car. Then he overdosed all within a month. He had a stroke. And he introduced me to some other people. And next thing you know, I'm smoking crack, which I never thought I'd do. I started smoking crack, done meth, cocaine, everything. I was selling dope, whatever I could get my hands on. I was selling and doing. One of my best friends had ended up moving out to California while I was out there. And I went back to California to get off away from the heroin and the gangbanging and all that. Um, and but I didn't go back to rehab. I mean, and this is Daniel, the one I told you about earlier. He was living in California, and I went and I started staying with him. He said, no heroin, you can do anything else. I get off the plane, I get in the car with this girl, and she pulls out a pill bottle, and it's full of 30 Xanax. And I popped 3 off the gate. I don't remember my first week back in California. Um, I started basically drinking every night, doing Xanax every night. And that led on for months to the point where I was vomiting blood. I had a stomach ulcer, and one of them told me, Jay, like you're on a different level. You're killing yourself, and like they say, you go from scotch to brandy. They like you think you can change your liquor, and that might help. So I went from drinking Four Locos to fucking Old English. I tried that, and I was still puking up blood, and I'm still doing Xanax every night and blacking out and doing things that I shouldn't have been doing. And I ended up realizing that I was killing myself. They told me I was killing myself. So I called the same rehab. I went back to rehab. And this is whenever the change began. I went through this place called Desert Palms, the first place I went through. And I was more mature, I was older, and I really wanted to change. I wanted a better life. All I've ever wanted was a family. I wanted love from my family. I wanted a woman that loved me. I wanted my own kids. I love kids, and I wanted a dog, a truck, a little farm. Just my own little piece of land that I could call mine. Something that I could call mine that no one could take from me, because I've had so much taken from me. I have abandonment issues and all that. So I ended up, after that, I was willing to go to outpatient treatment. So I went to Mission Viejo, and I was living in San Clemente, California, which is in Orange County, which is called South County. It's one of the nicer parts, right around Laguna Beach area, all that. I lived in Dana Point, Mission Viejo, San Clemente. I lived right on the beach, nice houses. I had a counselor named Kenny, and he basically had the same life as me, same anger, all that. Whenever they brought him into rehab, they had him handcuffed to a stretcher with a Hannibal Lecter mask on. He ended up getting loose right when they unhandcuffed him. He took off across the street, got by a cop car. He had been up for 30 days on meth. Well, he ended up, guiding me, and at 30 days, I had made no changes. I was just kind of just scoping the scene, And I remember I went up to him and I said, man, I've made no change in 30 days. I said, I got 60 days left. There was a 90-day program. I said, I'm willing to do anything you tell me to do. And he said, first off, you're going to get you a sponsor. He said, I'm making to get a sponsor. I got a sponsor. I started working the steps. The first thing he did was, I had to tell myself that, I am powerless over drugs and alcohol. And you have to learn that. But I can't force it. Nobody can force it into your head until you realize you're powerless over it. And that we're always going to have the obsession to use. And after the obsession to use is, if we use, then that craving comes in. And then we have to go get more. That's when the craving sets in. Everyone thinks they're having cravings. If you're not using, you're not having a craving. You're having an obsession. You're obsessing about it. After you put the drug in your body is when the craving sets in and you have to get more. And that was one thing I was explaining. to me out there. But basically, I had to find a higher power and get very close to my higher power. Um, last night I was praying and I kept thinking I had nobody to talk to, and whenever I was in the middle of my prayer, I was like, earlier today, I was saying I had nobody to talk to, but I have you, my higher power, to talk to. And every day I try to better myself. It's a constant progress. But anyways, things that he would make me do was, um, he made me make a list of what I wanted my higher power to be and what I didn't want it to be. And he made me rip up what I didn't want it to be, and he made me make a list of what I wanted in my higher power. And he said what I wanted in my higher power is what I should want in myself, which is, love, unconditional love, a big heart, hospitality, things like that. So I remember there was a couple people at the place, at the rehab I was at, that I just despised. And Kenny knew it, and he would go say, all right, he said, you see him over there, I want you to go give him a hug and ask him how his day is going. I'd be like, what the fuck are you talking about, man? And he's like, go do it. I'm telling you, go do it. And that's when it all started. I went and I gave a dude that I didn't even, I despised this guy, we had a little bit of history, and I went and I gave him a hug and I shook his hand, talked to him, chopped it up with him, and that's when it all started for me. I started doing things. I had to get out of myself. I would help an old lady with her groceries at the store. I would have to do at least 3 tasks a day, starting off. At break, at rehab, I pick up all the cigarette butts off the ground and put them in the trash. I would hug at least 3 people. If I saw someone crying, I would go ask them, is there anything I can do for you? You have to be of service. And I would just, that was my life, it was me. I had to get a routine, and my routine was helping others and getting out of myself and being the opposite and learning why I thought the way I thought. And the biggest thing for me was realizing how much fear was inside of me and how scared of everything I was. I was petrified of the world, and that's why I had so many walls. And I still have walls. I mean, things can come back if you don't stay with those routines. You just don't get to one spot and you stay. You have to keep on getting higher and higher and higher and higher and higher and improving. And you can always backtrack. And I did relapse. After this program, I ended up relapsing, and I was homeless in California. And when you're homeless in another state, especially like California, you gotta learn quick how to move. I'll get into those stories another day, but I ended up getting to another treatment center called ARC. I got some help for my PTSD, and I had some pretty cool counselors. Nobody was like Kenny though, but I kept learning about myself and getting out of myself and being of service. And the biggest thing that I can tell any addict is to just admit to yourself, first off, you're an addict, and don't take things too fast. Take them at your own pace. Don't push yourself too hard, because I've seen people go and want to make an apology the first day that they get off heroin. They want to apologize to everyone. They want to say, "Oh, I'm off dope, and I promise I'm never going to use again." Never make that promise. You are an addict. there's no telling. I will never promise anyone in my family that I'll never use again because I am a drug addict, and I'm that's always going to be a part of me. That's something that I'm going to work on daily. That I do work on daily. I want to be. I pray to be a better boyfriend, a better son, a better grandson, nephew, uncle, all of the above. Um, I've done a lot of things that I regret, and all of us addicts have. And when I went to this program, ARC, I kind of had some issues with them, um, and I met a girl there. That's another thing. I've always had that girl problem where I had to have a girlfriend, and her name was Jasmine, and we ended up on it was Easter weekend, and we both were allowed to have we both got an overnight together, and I went and stayed with her family, and that overnight led to us not going back to our treatment center, and her brother had came in for Easter, and he had some dope on him, and I remember we gave him like $14 out of change and got some dope, and that's how it started, and and within the first 2 weeks of us doing dope together, she overdosed in my lap. And I remember telling her before, your shot's too dark. I mean, you're gonna overdose. And I remember having to give her, me and her mom, her whole family was in there. We were giving her mouth to mouth. I remember we were throwing water on her face. We had no Narcan. Scariest moment in my life. I loved her a lot at that time. And her family, they were great to me. They were like a second family. And I remember just pounding on her chest, and I remember smacking her and giving her mouth to mouth, and she came out of it. And this is how bad addiction can get. We're at the hospital about 45 minutes later, and she's in the hospital bed, and she wouldn't let a Narcan her, but they said her oxygen level was so low she had to go to the hospital. She looks at me and she says, "So you hid the dope, right?" And I looked at her and I said, that's all you're worried about is if I hid the dope or not. We have more dope when we get back to the house. And that's just part of the insanity. She almost died that day and didn't understand how bad it affected me and how bad, especially at the time, how much I loved her, and I'm holding her like her lips were blue and she was pale, and she's not even thinking about me. She's thinking about nobody but if she can get her hands on some dope when she gets home. And I mean, I'm not trying to run my mouth about it, but that's just what happened. That's just the flat out truth about it. And that's how addiction is. And I can't blame her for it, because down the road I've learned that you can be very evil in your addiction. I've done evil things in my addiction, but thankfully we can all have a higher power that can forgive us of that. I'm lighting the cigarette real quick. So her mom forced her to go back to inpatient. They didn't think I was using because I was covering her up so well. She wasn't. Of course, she overdosed. So they let me stay there, and I ended up having a couple of friends that I met in rehab that had relapsed. And I didn't know much about Huntington Beach. But I knew that I had friends around the area, and Huntington Beach is North Orange, North Orange County, which is where Anaheim is, Disneyland, all that. I lived in Garden Grove, actually. I forgot to mention, when I lived with Ding, I lived in Garden Grove, which is North Orange County. It's right on the border of Los Angeles. It's 15 minutes from Long Beach. I used to go to Long Beach all the time. It's an awesome place to live, but it's different, and I wouldn't recommend going out there and trying to act like a tough guy, especially coming from another state, because you will get checked. But I was a little off topic, but I ended up staying there for about another month, and my buddies had relapsed. I was getting high with, and her sister started suspecting it, but she wouldn't say nothing. And I told her, I was like, please don't say anything. Don't say anything to anybody. Well, my girlfriend Jasmine ended up getting mad one night because I slept in one morning until 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and she called her dad and was like, Jay, why is Jay answering his phone? He's like, oh, he's asleep. And she's like, oh, it's because he was doing heroin with this boy last night, all night. And then that came out, and they said, you know, we can't have you doing that in the house. It's best for you. We please go back to a halfway house. We'll help you get back into a good halfway house. And I said, nope. I said, I'm not going back to treatment. And I was angry. I got that. What I'm getting at right now is just from how good I was doing to how I declined. And I was like, nope, not going. Not going back to treatment. Fuck that. But like, I've learned enough. I know everything. So I ended up coming back home, and I just left her. And I was really angry at her for, snitching on me to her parents and all that. And I was like, fuck you, I'm gone. I came back here. As soon as I came back, the first day I got back, I got dope and started hanging out with my boys, my G's. And I started slinging. I was slinging crystal, Adderall, Xanax, dope, and I was also doing dope. I was smoking crack. I had gotten a job, and I got the job because I was serving everybody at that job. I was selling to every one of them, and I was like, for some extra money, I was like, give me the job, and I'll keep everybody back here high. So next thing you know, every one of us is strung out in this kitchen. And I remember I was using two girls. I was going between two girls. I was be at one's house one night, and the other house, lying to both of them. That's not me. I'm a very loyal, loving person, and me and addiction, I'm a savage. I don't care. I have no heart. My heart goes black. They don't even know that I'm selling at the time. I'm selling out of their cars. I'm using their cars to go do pickups. I'm committing crimes in their cars. I didn't even have a license at the time. And I ended up. I'm trying to think of. Oh yeah, I ended up getting really bad off doing the heroin, and I was living with my ex's family, and she had gotten mad because I'd slept in one morning I'd slept in till 3 o'clock, and she calls her dad and it's like, why is she answering this phone? And he goes, he's asleep, and she goes, oh, it's because he was out doing heroin all night with his homeboys. And basically they gave me the option to go back to a halfway house, and they would help me get to a halfway house, but I couldn't be at the house anymore because they found out I was doing heroin and hide it from them the whole time. So basically, I got angry at her, and I was angry at them, and I just said, I'm going back home. The day I got back home, I kicked it with my family for a little bit, and I got out, and I immediately went and got some more heroin. And this is my first day back in Wilmington. So I'm back in Wilmington, and I got right back into the gang life. I started selling different substances, and I was selling to some of my friends at a restaurant, and basically I was like, for some extra cash, give me a job and I'll serve all of y'all while and while you're at work. You know, we can work and I can be the plug at the same time, and I can just be here because they were my main clients. I was making hella money off these dudes. So that's what I did, and I was selling to other people too outside of my job, and it got so bad. I remember one day just being in the kitchen and getting. So I was also taking subs, and I remember I'd taken like a whole sub, but I'm still pouring sweat. I'm bent over. I'm like, dude, there's something wrong, man. Like I'm getting really bad dope sick. I took a sub and I've done dope. I'm like, Subutex. It was a box of Subutex, and I'd done some dope. So I'm like, there's something really wrong. Like I can't work right now. And then I found out that my cousin had hung himself, and um, that's tattoos on my fingers are for. I have his initials. It says rough and tough, and then his initials are on my thumbs. Um, he had committed suicide, and I ended up quitting that job, and I ended up getting into a clinic, which pretty much saved my life. But I just wanted to give y'all some of my story. I dose. I take methadone daily now. I've uh, actually backtrack. So after I got with her, I got with another girl. The girl I'm with now, I'm engaged to a girl named Ashley. Um, and whenever I was with her, um, my big homie died. He had just gotten out of prison, and he was living in Fayetteville, North Carolina, and he overdosed and died. Um, a month later, my little homie died with needle in, I don't, yeah, with a needle in his arm. Um, and then 2 months later, another one of my buddies died with a needle in his arm in California in a hotel by himself. Um, and that that's whenever I promised myself not to ever go back down that road again. And whenever I lost him, I feel like I lost part of myself. And everyone has different bottoms. You can have more than one bottom, but the thing to recovery is to always jump back on, get back into it. Do whatever you've been taught, or just make one phone call. Just make one phone call. Call a clinic. Call rehab. There's rehabs. There's so much help for addicts out there, and I literally am living proof. I got on a little Nokia phone and typed in "help for addicts," and I called the number, and I was in California 3 days later and paid for my plane ticket, everything. And there's a ton of help. I've learned so much things, and I've gotten to help so much people. And now that I've been on methadone, I still go through depression. I still go through anxiety, but I have the tools to work through it. I have a higher power, and you know, I it's always going to be a daily battle, but you'll always, once you get into recovery and you can learn the beauty in life, I see things differently now. Before I was nothing but angry. Now I learned how to love again. I'm starting to learn how to love myself. And I still have days. We all have our bad days. I still have a bad temper, but used to, I would fight somebody off the bat. Now I think before I go to do anything, I haven't fought anyone in years. Um, I have. I don't gangbang anymore. Um, whenever my big homie died, I chose to stop that life. That was a big change for me, was him dying, and because we were so close and we had done so much together. Um, but keep your hope and keep your faith, and there's gonna be somebody out there that's gonna be able to help guide you. Um, this is just my first video that I'm making. Um, I didn't want to get too deep into any of my stories yet because I want to make more videos helping people. I just wanted to give an outline of my story, but if you're actively using right now and you want to stop, there's plenty of resources. There's plenty of places you can call. Call Coastal Horizons if you're in my city. Just get somewhere, or you know, don't take it too fast. Don't start making amends off the bat. Just do it the way you think you should do it. Follow your heart. Don't let your mom pressure you into it. Don't let anyone pressure you into it. You do it when you are ready. Because if you do it when you're not ready, then it's not going to work. And you're just going to keep going in a cycle. You've got to do this whenever you're ready. Methadone wouldn't have been my first choice, but it saved my life, and it's kept me off dope for a long time now. A year I've been off dope. At the beginning of methadone, I still messed around, but I've been off dope for a year. It's been a year since my buddy died, and that's whenever I said that I was going to get off of everything. But like I said, keep fighting the fight. And I know people that have gone high. It doesn't matter. If you can look up NA meetings or AA meetings. I prefer AA personally. There's a lot more knowledge in AA to me. That's just my opinion. Even though I am mainly an addict, I'm also an alcoholic. But I love AA. But you can always get help. Nobody's going to judge you for going to a meeting high. Just go in there and you might go in there high as a kite, but you might hear something that clicks for you. And that can be the thing that changes your whole life. And, there needs to be more people out there that are reaching out and trying to help others. And I just want to help somebody. I want to help one person. My life, I don't want somebody, I don't want a youngster to go through what I went through, and just be angry at the world. I want to hurt everyone and end up getting into a gang and end up using drugs and end up being in institutions. I've had my freedom taken from me. There's so many things in my story that I haven't told yet that I am going to tell, but this is not the life you want to live. It is destructive, and we don't see what we're doing when we're in it, but it's just insane thinking. It's like just insanity. It's like you heard that this girl overdosed on some dope, so you want that dope because you know it's good. That's insane. That is, if me and a sober mind right now, that I'm like, that's retarded. Why would I do that? And free Wind to Clean, the people that don't have problems with drugs, stop judging addicts. You know nothing about it. You don't know what they're going through, and I'm not judging you. You don't judge me. And for the people out there that maybe are a parent to an addict, instead of coming at them, angrily and, wanting and cussing them out, come out of them with love, because, that anger is fear. You're scared. You're scared that they're going to die. So come at them like that. Come at them lovingly. I'm scared you're going to die. And show your real emotion. Don't show that anger. That's just going to push them away and make them go out and use. That's to a parent, a girlfriend, anybody. Never come at an addict with anger, because that would just push us away. That's how we're built. That's how our minds work. With later videos, I want to talk about, how the addict mind works. I want to talk about more of my stories and things that I've done in addiction, how evil I got. I'm going to probably make this into 2 different videos because it's so long. Edit, whatever you got to do. This is the first time I've ever done this, but I've wanted to do it for a while, and I feel like I just built the courage up. My videos will get better. I'm doing a collab with my cousin this weekend, but I just wanted to go ahead and get out there and try and help somebody and let them know that I know the pain, I know the anxiety that addicts go through every day. I know what it's like, and I'm here for anyone. I'm going to be posting these videos. My girlfriend's going to do it for me, so you can have my info if you need to reach out. I'm here to talk to any day or night. You can call me. I can, if you're local, I can help you get in somewhere. Even if you're far away, I can help you get in somewhere, because I went from here to North Carolina, 2,000 miles away. And people just need to stop. If everyone could just care more and stop judging, the world would be a better place. And especially during this virus that's going on right now, people need to really, just be there for each other and stop acting a fool and love one another. If we could all just love and learn to love ourselves and be honest with ourselves, that's the biggest thing. You just be honest with yourself and stop lying to yourself, especially if you're an addict. Stop lying and saying, I'm not an addict because I don't use dope every day. You ain't got to use dope every day. But if you use dope to get high, you're an addict. If you drink to get drunk, you are an alcoholic. I never drink. I can't drink a beer. I drink to get drunk. That's just how it is. I can't take a drug or drink without getting high or drunk. That's what I think it's there for. I don't think it's there for, I don't know how to use anything recreationally, So just remember that, and remember that people make mistakes and that we can all come back from it. You'll never be in a hole that's too deep. You can always come back. I've met guys who've done 25 years in prison for murder that were addicts and that were high when they did it, and they get out and they are changed men that have huge houses, cars, a wife, that everything they wanted. Right now, I have a roof over my head. I have a wonderful girlfriend, fiance. Actually, we just got engaged a week ago. I have AC now. I got a car that gets you from point A to point B. I can't complain. If I have food in my belly, a roof over my head, and a bed to sleep in, I can't complain. And that's from making the right choices. And if we can all just try to make the right choices and help the next person, then the world will be such a better place. And like I said, I'm probably going to have some haters. Whoever wants to talk crap, you can talk all you want. It doesn't get to me anymore. I'm not who I used to be. I'm just here to help the next person. And I don't want people thinking that they have no one to reach out to and that they're in a hole too deep that they've dug that they can't get out of, because you can always get out of it. And I have stories to tell you that you can get out of it, because I've been in plenty of holes that I thought I couldn't get out of, but that I've gotten out of. And this is just me, an introduction. It's a pretty long video, so like I said, I am going to chop it up. But anybody who wants to reach out and just talk, I mean, even if you're using and you're high and you just want to talk, and I'm there for you. Um, that's what I'm here for. Um, just try and do the next right thing. Think about, like, it's cliche, but what would Jesus do? Even if you don't believe in Jesus, it's just trying to think about, like, if you have a higher power, you know, what would your higher power do? Would your higher power go and smoke crack? No, he wouldn't. So try and be more like that. Would your higher power go punch somebody in the face? No, your higher power wouldn't. Um, and that's how I have to think. Um, I have to live in God's will and not mine. And it's very tough. I still get mad. I still get angry, but I ask for forgiveness every day of my life. And that's going to continue. Um, but just know that I'm coming from a good place. I'm being honest and forthcoming. So if you speak to me, I'd like you to be honest and forthcoming. I'm a very honest person. I'm a very loving, caring person. I'm not trying to be the person that I used to be. This is therapeutic for me, and I just want to help the world. I want to help the addicts. I want to help non-addicts learn about addicts, you know, and that we're not just bad people because me being an addict, I'm a downright piece of shit. I am the dirt you step on. Like, you can ask anybody that knows whenever I'm using. I am a very mean person. I don't care about anything or anybody else. But whenever I'm not using, I'm very loving, I'm caring, I'm loyal, and that's that. Um, if you watch this video, thank you. I appreciate any of the support that I can get. I will have other videos getting into stories. I have a lot of interesting stories that I'm going to be sharing with y'all. Um, and just thank you for watching. And once again, my name's Jay, and love and peace to all. Thank you.